Hi there guys, Sam here. Yeah, you joined me in the Golf R. Just going over kind of the first service that I had in the car. So yeah, I'll get straight into it. So a bit of the good points, a bit of the bad points really, just to go over. Mostly it's all good, but I'll kind of go through both halves. So yeah, from my side, I've only ever owned a Ford, so I've only ever serviced my cars at Ford. So this is my first different dealer where I've serviced my car. And yeah, really impressed actually. Yeah, you notice kind of the quality difference, I suppose, in a bit of customer service. A little bit better, which is really nice. Overall, so this was my first oil service. Came up for 11,000 miles. My car was on about 10,940, and yeah, it needed a service. So I do my usual. I kind of call around the dealers to make sure I get the right sort of quote. I did want to go to a VW dealer. It's a Golf R. I wanted to be safe on that side. And it is amazing how different quotes in price you can get. And I'd always recommend push back. Say what's the best deal you can do for me. If they won't go any lower, be prepared to walk away. If you have to travel a little bit more, potentially, it's kind of worth it. In my case, I actually haven't. But in fact, the first place I called was actually, they quoted me at £280 for my first oil service. Bear in mind, it's just an oil change and a few little bits. It's nothing major, which I thought was too high. I was kind of thinking around sort of £150 to £200, that kind of area, and potentially on the higher side because it's a Golf R, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I pushed back to see if they'd get it any lower, and they wouldn't budge. They just basically said to me, oh, it's an R, this is what you're going to pay. And I was kind of like, okay, fine, if that's the case, I'll go elsewhere. And the next place I called, actually close to me over here, up in Bedford, quoted me a few pounds over 200, which for me, I know it's still quite a lot of money for what is essentially just an oil change, but I thought that was okay. I wasn't going to haggle over sort of a small amount of money, and it was already £80 less than a previous place charged me, and a bit of peace of mind there, and to see what VW were like. So the final price, really happy with that actually, really good. So yeah, no problems taking it during the service. Did a few videos as most garages do now as well. Showed underneath the car, which looked really cool actually. Went over sort of disc wear, tyre wear, all this kind of stuff, just as a visual kind of health check. And yeah, no surprising, it all came out really well. And actually I was pleasantly surprised actually how little like the brake discs had worn and stuff like that as well. Being a bit worried, it's a performance type car, tyres, will the 300 brake horsepower churn through those tyres quicker? But it is all how you drive it really, and I drive it quite sensibly. Yeah, checking my stuff for my service. The tyres, they've got 5mm tread pretty much all round, which is plenty, which is really good. Brake discs, the front had only worn 15%, which means they've got loads of life left in. That was one thing I was kind of thinking it would be pretty bad in sort of 2 or 3 years time to need to change the front 2 brake discs, because I know they're pricey, because they're big discs, 340mm, really nice. But fortunately nothing wrong with those, and the whole car is, is perfect really, which is what you expect. And the customer service at VW is really nice, really friendly, talking to people. Obviously they're interested in the Golf R as well, and yeah, interested in mine, and talking to them and getting that good customer service was a big plus, I suppose. Yeah, and finally, yeah, a bit on that as well. They obviously washed the car, and they actually cleaned and vacuumed it inside as well, and it looks really nice. I'll show you a little video just of the inside. It came out really good, great interior. So I kind of neglected the interior a little bit, knowing this was coming, so it did need a bit of a dust down and stuff. But that's come out really good. They also washed the car. I went around the car. This is the first time in my ownership someone else has washed my own car, and it looks all good. I'll trust VW, and it came out good. And I did my usual polish the exhaust, because obviously dealers won't do that. Bad points, which is one of them, is kind of my fault anyway. So they did tyre black the wheels, and I never liked that, just because I don't necessarily think it adds massively to the visual appeal, and second, the black tyre kind of markings come up on the paintwork, and they're quite difficult to clean. And if you then clean it, if you then do some sort of like the spray, which gives you a little bit of a better shine, it can kind of seal it sometimes. So I never really like that, so I might try and scrub a bit of that off in due course, but not the end of the world. And to be fair, if I had said beforehand, say, you can wash it but just don't tyre back the wheel, they probably would have done. So that's not really the end of the world at all. The only other negative is actually kind of about the car. At first I thought it was quite a good little feature, and you kind of get it in two minds. So when you're coming up to a service, you can check all the service information actually in the car itself, which is good. You know, it tells you how many miles you've got to go. It's all variable. The car kind of work itself out, which is quite cool. When I hit 10,000 miles, it came up saying you need a service in, you know, 900 miles or whatever it did. And I was kind of, okay, you know, that's quite good to remind you. Of course, what I didn't realise is every time you then get into the car, it's constantly reminding you, which again, it's fine, you know, it keeps it in your mind. And as it gets down to sort of like 200-300, it does put it in your mind to then book the service, which is, again, fine. And it keeps notifying you. When it got to below 100, well, as I got into sort of like, I got into 10,920, it just came up with sort of service now, and it would bong at you as well. I know it's not really the end of the world, but that's every time you kind of leave the car, you get a massive bong. Every time you kind of get in it as well, it's kind of forcing it on you a little bit too much, in my opinion, and gets quite annoying. You know, and to have that for sort of the duration is not really pleasant, and I don't think is really needed. You know, I think it could do it maybe it could time it to do it every now and then or whatever. You know, I can see why they do it, because they know people will just leave it and not service their car. But yeah, for me it was a little bit annoying on that side. Just, it was a bit too confrontational. But other than that, I haven't really got a bad word to say. The car feels exactly like it did when I picked it up. You know, when I picked up at sort of 1,400 miles, it was an ex-demo. And it's really put a smile on my face, actually, to have that kind of experience with VW. You know, not too expensive for the service, for a first service for a car like this. You know, 300 brake horsepower, 4-wheel drive. It's a decent car. And again, interested to see how you know, future services potentially cost me and how the experience is. But the experience in Volkswagen was really nice. Checking out some cool cars as well while I was kind of waiting around, which wasn't for too long at all, because, you know, it's half a day's work. Yeah, and it was really good. And it kind of gave me a bit more self-assurance that, you know, someone's not going to take and rag my car around. You know, I do kind of worry about those kind of things, and for me, I had a bit more confidence in this place. It was part of the Vindis group for VW, and yeah, it was really good. So I don't really have any faults. Other than those one or two bad points, which one of them is on me and one of them is actually the car, so it's not really related to a dealer, but it's about servicing. You obviously get your usual stuff, so all your papers on your car, you get another stamp in your service book, and peace of mind that your car is, you know, running well. And particularly I enjoyed to see how, you know, how the tyres are wearing. That's a big thing for me. You know, will they kind of all wear evenly? Will the rears wear a little bit more? You know, I've only had a front-wheel drive car before, and the rears I've never really worried about, because they never literally went down. The fronts, will they wear more? Will they potentially wear less, because the load is potentially evened up? You're never really sort of putting too much. You know, 300 brake horsepower rarely goes straight through the front wheels. It's going to sort of even it out. And for a hyper hatch, 4-wheel drive, 300 brake horsepower car, I'm pretty happy with this. Again, be interesting to know what it's like on a Focus RS or an A45 AMG or a Civic Type R, what your kind of first service costs, all these kind of bits, what the experience is like. But for VW, thumbs up from me. And yeah, I will keep you informed on sort of more videos on kind of my Golf R as time goes on. But you know, thanks very much for watching. Drop a comment, anything you want to kind of know about the Volkswagen, about servicing and bits like that as well, and give it a like if you found this video useful. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, guys.